Okay, so today we will learn about Halal and HACCP, called HACCP. Okay, so HACCP means Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. Okay, so we first discuss about halal. So have you heard about halal previously?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
doctor.
doctor.
Okay, what about kosher?
No.
Yes,
Yes, doctor.
Yes,
doctor.
doctor.
So what is kosher? For some of you that doesn't know kosher, can somebody tell us what is kosher?
Uh, it's a halal form in Jewish religion.
Okay, it's halal for Jewish, eh? So halal mean lawful or legal basically, which mean that permissible to engage or eat according to Islamic law. And kosher, basically they have the kosher food like kosher salt. If you search for recipe in the internet, they use kosher salt, kosher meat, are those that conform to the regulation of Jewish halachic law framework. Kosher mean fit or allowed to be eaten, same as halal, same as halal, but for Jewish. Okay, so Islam have laws regarding which food can or cannot be eaten. So because we have a proper method of slaughtering animal for consumption, known as dabiha. So in Surah 2, verse 173 state that if one is forced because there is no other choice, neither craving nor transgressing, there is no sin in him. So if you have no choice, then you are allowed to eat. Okay. If there are no other choice, it is a matter life or death, then you are allowed to eat something that not halal. Okay, if not, you are not allowed to eat. And then in Surah 5, verse 5, this day are things good and pure meat lawful unto you. The food of the people of the book is lawful unto you, and yours is lawful unto them. Do you know what is people of the book?
No, doctor.
Okay, basically people of the book means that Christian, Jewish, because in Islam they have 4 books that that is considered pure, okay, considered pure, that is from God. So the people that have the that is believe in that book is the people of the book. So based on this verse, it mean that what is lawful to them is lawful to Muslim people. Okay, so forbidden substances. For example, in Islam, we are forbidden to eat pork, blood, animals slaughtered in the name of anyone but Allah, carrion, carcasses of dead animals, animal that has been strangled, beaten to death, killed by a fall, savaged by beast or prey, food over which Allah's name is not pronounced, alcohol and other intoxicant. Okay, so in this slide, it discuss how halal certificate halal food is brought to apa nama ni US. For example, in Michigan, US, some fast food chains such as McDonald's have introduced halal chicken nuggets. And then in the UK, it is now easy to find halal food. Okay, and now in February 2009, KFC restaurant in the UK began to sell halal meal in several restaurants. Law passed by country in Ohio 2005 banned the sale, distribution of production of food mislabeled halal. Similar laws protect kosher food in most of United States and in many other countries, states and provinces. Ada orang baru masuk ya. So here you can see that Ontario and Alberta become 100% halal in 2008 and 2009, and Thailand also noticeable population of Muslim and halal meat shop and countrywide. So basically, if you produce halal food, you have huge market to sell your food, right? So just get the produce the halal food and get the certification, and you can sell your product. Okay. So this is the example of halal certification authority by Australia. And this is from Germany. Okay. Germany. Okay. About HACCP. HACCP is a prevention approach to enable the production of consistently safe product. Have you ever seen HACCP sign in any other packaging, any of food packaging?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, from your point of view, when you see HACCP sign, what do you think about it? At that time, do you know what is HACCP and why? Why do you need to have that label?
It is safe to eat.
Pardon? Slow suara. Hello?
Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
It is safe to eat.
Why it's safe to eat? Why do you think it's safe to eat? Yeah, HACCP.
Because it is approved by Hassab already.
Okay, HACCP. Do you know what is HACCP at that time? Now, basically.
Not really, doctor.
Not
really.
Okay, never mind. We will learn about it. Don't worry. So it is a control of key step, critical control point where it can eliminate or reduce likelihood of hazard occurring. So basically, for example, when you want to produce safe drinking water, let's say, okay, you identify which step of the production that can produce hazard toward the consumer. Okay, at that time you can eliminate you can produce critical control point where you eliminate the hazard. Okay, so documented the 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 most important thing is documentation of the system in working. Okay, the use of HACCP together with prerequisite plan, it is basis for successful implementation of quality assurance system in food processing food. Okay, the main objective is ensure products are safe to be consumed, and also the concept can also be used in other systems such as drinking water, treatment and distribution, and agriculture. So the program compliance requires establishment have system in place to monitor and control the program and maintain record demonstrating due to diligences. So macam saya bagi tahu tadi lah, you should have the documentation of the system. Okay, so hazard means that any biological, chemical, physical property that may be expected to cause an acceptable health risk to consumer if present in the product. Okay, previously have you been to any food factory?
Yes.
Pernah tak?
Yes, doctor.
Which factory?
Gardenia.
Gardenia. Okay, when you enter the Gardenia factory, what you should wear? They give you a cap, right? Cap,
Yes, doctor.
and then shoes protectors of the shoes, right? and then you need to wear some clothes, right? So that's why that is all to reduce the any hazard that you will brought to their factory. Okay, risk and estimate of likelihood of or the occurrence of a hazard, severity of risk, the seriousness of hazard if not properly controlled, and CCP or critical control point, a specific point in a process where control can be applied to eliminate or reduce the risk of hazard to an acceptable level. So, kita tengok overview of the HACCP kita tengok history dia and then component dia and application of HACCP. So, the history of HACCP basically first used in US space program to ensure food safety relying on end product testing. So, basically the last thing you want to experience in space is diarrhea. Okay? Can you just imagine if you have diarrhea in space? All the floating debris, so that is the last thing you want to have. If you are in the space. Okay, so in 1970s, HACCP was developed to ensure food safety for the astronaut. Okay, and then US FDA adopted for low canned food regulation, and then it made HACCP mandatory for all seafood processors in the US as well as for those foreign plant exporting to the US in 1997. And in 1998, Canadian Food Inspection Agency made HACCP mandatory for all Canadian export processors. And also in 2007, implementation mandatory HACCP for the meat and poultry industry, and then it imposed to the EU for food processors within the EU and those exporting the EU countries. In Malaysia, HACCP bukan wajib lah basically, but halal wajib for those yang nak jual makanan halal towards Muslim, yang ada juga yang tak halal. So tak ada masalah. But then when we talk about issue halal, I think lah, we as Muslim should be aware lah. Jangan nak apa manja sangat. You see manja sangat means that when we go macam pergi overseas, kita tak ada pun depends on halal certificate by JAKIM, because not all food in overseas to ada certification halal by JAKIM, right? So we need to read the ingredient. Of course, for those yang tak perlu halal pun, we still need to read the ingredient so that we know what we consume later. For example, the ingredient, let's say the ingredient of the food, so that we know what we eat. Okay, it is not about halal or whatever. It is about what we should know, what we consume. Okay, and latest, do you know about Hong Kong punya apa nama ni? They said that certain biscuit in Malaysia contain cancer-causing substances. Do you know about it?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor. Heard about it.
Okay, so we have been eating all the food for how long? 19, 20 years kan? But then do we have cancer now?
No, doctor.
Yes. Okay, now we back to what we should know. When we eat, we should know what we eat. Okay. For example, we know that when we heat certain food to certain temperature, acrylamide production will occur, and then it will cause. It is one of cancer agent. Okay. For example, let's say we eat satay. Siapa suka makan satay?
Saya.
Siapa saya tu?
Saya Laila.
Laila. Okay, Laila suka makan satay. Saya pun suka makan satay. Okay, satay. Very, very good So that when we bake the satay, we bakar the satay tu, you can see the coal there. Ada formation of charcoal kan dekat dia punya ni, the burn of the meat. Perasan tak?
Yes, Doctor.
So kalau kita makan benda tu banyak-banyak, so akan menyebabkan kanser. But then that is why we complement the food with cucumber and onion. Cucumber and onion is good for fighting cancer. That is why we eat that in basically we eat food in moderation lah basically, okay? So that it is true that we are what we eat. It is true. So that we should know what we eat. Okay? Ni kilang jijik. Proses bungkus produk asam jawa. Lantai berair busuk dan rak penyimpanan penuh karat di arah tutup serta merta. Do you think that this factory have HACCP certification?
No, Doctor.
No, Doctor.
You can see the asam jawa here. And then fucuk kerja ni. Saya suka makan fucuk tapi bila saya tengok gambar ni saya tak adik nak makan juga. You can see here. And then the soybean paste kat sini, and then ada bugs. So here we know that they do not have the HACCP HACCP documentation. Based on the figure ni kita tahu dia tak ada HACCP documentation. And here you can see ada the blender tengok macam mana rupa blender ni. And then they have mouse droppings So they do the inspection under the stove You can see that ni biasanya mamak ni ada ayam goreng ni. Kedai mamak Siapa yang suka lepak mamak tu beware. Okay, hazard. Biological bacteria. So biological can be bacteria, viruses, parasites. Chemical can be natural toxin, chemical contaminant. Physical can be glass, stone, metal, or even kuku plastik. Kuku Not hazard. Hair, filth, spoilage. Since no injury or illness is caused to the consumer, food may be divided into risk category depending on their characteristic and potential associated hazard. So we have 7 principles of HACCP. First, conduct a hazard analysis for each product and then identify the CCPs and then establish critical limits, establish critical control point monitoring requirement, establish corrective action yang diperlukan when critical limits have been exceeded, establish HACCP verification procedures and establish HACCP verification procedures and establish effective record keeping. So record keeping is a must so that when you apply for HACCP certification, you have all the details that show them what you have conduct in your factory. So analyze hazard, analyze the whole food production process and identify hazard posed to the safety of the food. Okay, determine critical control point. Common CCPs in food production are following process steps: purchase of raw material, cold storage of raw materials, cooking, cold, and then establish limits for CCPs. Yang mana contohlah kata you for example cold storage of raw materials you dah set the temperature for the safety for your safe product is about 0 degrees Celsius. What happen if the limit 0 tu is achieved? Faham tak? What happen? Katalah blackout. then what happened to the food? So you should have backup plan. Should have limit for the critical control point. You should have, for example, maybe you have generator, right? And then establish monitoring procedures for CCPs, and then you have the corrective action for certain certain control point. Okay, and then establish verification procedures and record system. So we have 12 steps to implement HACCP. Ni recommended by Canada punya ni, and for the implementation, first we have the HACCP team. So you should have HACCP team in your company so that team can monitor HACCP and produce a good documentation, okay, and describe the product, identify intended use, construct process flow diagram and plan schematic, on-site verification of flow diagram and plan schematic, list hazard associated with each step, apply hazard decision tree to determine CCPs. Nanti kita akan tengok what is decision tree ni. Establish critical limit, establish monitoring procedures, establish deviation procedures, establish verification procedures, and establish record keeping. For principle 1 to 6. 1 to 6. Okay. So solid foundation required, management commitment is essential. Kalau management tak nak buat HACCP, so macam-macam mana pun tak adalah, tak ada team tu. And then should hantar everyone for training. Eventually all everyone on the team and eventually all employees, so that they know what is HACCP and what HACCP can do to produce a good product, a safe product. Okay, HACCP team assembly and initial task, description of intended use product, production, consumed by any major risk group, very young or old people with healthy problem affecting their immune system, development and verification of the product flow diagram. So kita tengok HACCP team dulu. So HACCP team consists of different specialties, people with different specialties. We have the maintenance, QC, production, cleaning, sanitation, people involved in the day-to-day plant operation. Taklah kita ambil orang luar, kita buat team. The team must be in the factory or in the kedai lah basically, in the plant. Okay, team leader must be well trained, have a reasonable scientific background, ability to motivate and work well with others. Team leader jangan sombong so that he or she can work well with others. Team must have access to reliable technical information. And then the duties of HACCP team, they must develop HACCP plan, verify HACCP plan, and also implement and continually revise plan to accommodate changes. So the plan is living document and will evolve with time. Taklah you stick daripada tahun 1973 sehingga 2022 with the same HACCP plan, tak. So it will grow time by time. Okay, it will evolve time by time. Why the team approach? Because no one can be expert on all processing operation. So that's why we have different background of people in the team. And then it will minimize risk of missing something important. Okay, and encourage ownership. So kita tengok principle 1, hazard analysis. Kalau saya laju dan you tak faham, you please stop me, okay? Okay, hazard analysis. We first identify the step in the process where significant hazard may occur, and then must estimate both risk and severe hazard. And then we have the outside assistant are required for the step. You have brainstorming, and then identify potential preventive measures. Forms are provided. Ni form dia, QMPR, FSEP forms are provided to guide the team through the hazard analysis and identification of potential preventive measures. Contoh, biological hazard. For example, combination of heat, time to reduce or destroy pathogen. Low temperature preservation to control growth and pathogen or kill parasite. Control water activity by drying or salt addition. Pernah dengar water activity? Siapa pernah dengar water activity? Siapa tahu water activity? Hello?
Tak tahu doktor.
Okay, basically
No,
water activity is the content of water in the food, in certain food, and we usually apa nama ni tulis, we write it as AW kecil, AW kecil. So that is water activity. Because we know that when we have moisture or high water activity in a food, in certain food, there will be the bacteria like the food compared to low water activity food. Okay, so here they control the water activity by drying or salt addition so that they can control the bacteria. Okay, and chemical and physical hazard, for example, source control. We know where or how the vendor handle the food or the source of the food. Okay, when the vendor has certification, raw material testing, for example, macam contoh macam ni lah, you nak produce curry puff ayam, okay, curry puff chicken puff. Okay, and then you need to know the vendor certification, the halal certification of the vendor, because they provide the chicken. Then you know because we know that when we have the halal certification, it is apa nama ni, bersih and then good, bersih so that you can use that chicken in your food. So you know the vendor has certification. And also product control, proper application of food additive, use of material detection and x-ray. Contoh macam previously yang saya bagi contoh last week, which is rapeseed oil. Ingat tak rapeseed oil yang dia claim as apa nama ni?
olive oil, doctor.
Yes, olive oil. Sorry, lupa. Olive oil. So yang ni kena, that is a chemical hazard kan towards the consumer. So you know the production control. Okay. And principle number 2, identify the critical control point. So critical control point is any point in process which can be used to eliminate or reduce hazard to acceptable level. For example, okay, bila kita sebut pasal critical control point, we must have a decision tree to determine process point in HACCP. Okay, for example, kat sini. Does this step involve a hazard of sufficient risk and severity to warrant it control? So kalau no, tak ada apa-apa risk of hazard, so it is not a CCP lah, a critical control point. So you do not need to you just eliminate the potential hazard lah. And then if yes, you should ask the question number 2. Does a control measure for hazard exist at this step? Contoh macam tadilah, apa nama ni, katalah fridge tadi, kalau blackout, so ada hazard tak kalau blackout? So yes. So does a control measure for the step exist? Yes. For example, you can supply apa nama tadi, apa tadi, generator For example, you can supply generator. Is control at this step necessary to prevent, eliminate or reduce risk of hazard to consumer? Yes, you can proceed to the next step in the process flow. Faham tak di CCP Division 3 ni?
Faham.
Okay, sebab selalunya yang bila saya explain ni ramai yang tak faham. Make sure you understand it properly, okay? Sebab yang ni you akan buat assignment nanti. Assignment nanti kita discuss sekejap lagi. Okay, CCPs may change with differences in plan layout. Katalah you nak ubah you punya plan factory punya layout. So, CCPs akan berubah. Okay, the formulation, you nak tambah kata tadi chicken curry puff, you tambah benda lain, tambah apa nama ni, kentang, tambah kentang. So formulation berubah and also the CCP will change. Process flow of the product, also the CCP will change. Equipment, you tukar equipment baru, so the CCP also will change. Ingredient selection, you tukar vendor lain, also the CCP will change. Sanitation and support program involved also will change the critical control point. Okay. Okay, principle number 2, example of CCPs. Cooking, obtain a specific time or temperature combining to destroy pathogen. Freezing, low temperature or time storage destroy parasite or to reduce bacterial growth. Reception of materials, contoh supplier certificate. So, for example, shellfish, kalau dekat US, dia selalu makan oyster. So, macam contoh kita kat sini kerang, daripada apa ni, laut apa tadi, laut geting kan, laut geting. They have the toxin punya algae. So, we are not allowed to eat for certain period of time. So you should know about that from the supplier, okay? Then it is part of reception of raw materials. Okay. Then after we have the CCP Decision 3, we have the Decision 3 table for IQF stream. For example ni IQF stream lah IQF ni company dia, IQF stream. For example ni Q1 for question number 1, question number 2, question number 3. You ask the question accordingly and you state the answer here. Okay? So tengok if question number 1 yes, question number 2 no, then it is not critical control point. Ini cooker, pathogen survival. You have the question number 1 yes, question number 2 yes, question number 3 yes, it is a critical control point. Boleh faham? Siapa tu? Tak dengar, bising dengar.
Ada construction sebelah.
Oh, ada construction. Okay, faham tak? Yang penting faham. Okay, sebab nanti you akan buat dalam assignment. Okay. Principle number 3, establish critical limits for each preventive measures. For example, temperature of pasteurizer to 80 degrees Celsius plus minus 2 degree for 2 minutes or 2 or 0.5 minutes to control Listeria monocytogenes or Salmonella typhimurium. So tambah salt juga, tambah 3.5% salt in water phase plus refrigeration to temperature to control Clostridium botulinum in packaged cold smoked salmon. And then the definition is a boundaries. Critical limit is a boundaries which cannot be exceeded if the hazard is to be prevented, eliminated or minimized. And CCP monitoring, principle number 4. Plan observation to assess whether a CCP is under control. Observation used to determine whether or not corrective action is required. For example, the monitoring salt level in brine solution, monitoring pH in additional product, monitoring line speed, monitoring residual chlorine levels in drinking water. Okay. And corrective action. Principle number 5. Plan action to be undertaken in cases where CCPs is out of control and the limit have been exceeded. Need for clear corrective action protocols and change of command must be emphasized. For example, add more salt to brine solution, recook if possible if the internal temperature was not achieved. For example, you dah masak, you cut temperature ayam dalam masih belum achieve that correct temperature, so you recook. Okay, discard the food product was left too high at temperature for excess time, as defined in the critical limit SOPs. Another example, if increased chlorination level in drinking water. And principle number 6, verification. Plan action to verify the measuring devices or process or working. Example, review records on regular basis, checking that the process remain unchanged, calibration or monitoring devices. Contoh macam pH meter, you calibrate selalu bila nak guna, you calibrate. Spot check for biological, chemical and physical hazard. This one is validation. Ni macam audit lah basically. Kita buat audit. And also record keeping. Principle number 7. Support type of record include HACCP plan and support documentation. We have CCP monitoring, log of corrective action and record of verification activities. So things to include: ingredient specification including raw materials and packaging, data to support efficacy, and preventative measures from data from monitored CCP storage and distribution record, deviation reports. System record keeping with filing system. So we have the filing, the correct, the neat filing system, bukan sepah-sepah the neat filing system. Okay, Hassab and water. Kita tengok Hassab and water Canadian Water and Wastewater Association CWWA has largely completed and developed the development of guideline of Hassab planning related to municipal drinking water services with support of AAFC. One element of food industry Hassab plan is the supplier should also follow Hassab guideline. Municipal supply water to food industry within their jurisdictions. So kita tengok kat sini So we have untreated water, of course hazard kan. Okay, we identify this as hazard. So kita tengok color and precipitate removal step. Yang ni hazard tak? You ada tambah apa-apa tak? Tak ada, you just buang kan. Aeration, chemical oxidation, ion exchange, sedimentation. So you buang. So this is not a critical control point. And then here, softening, chemical precipitation. So yang ni pun tak ada hazard. But turbidity removal, ada chemical coagulation, dosing, flocculation, settling, filtration kat sini, dia identify as hazard. As critical control point. So dia kat sini ada safety measures kat sini. Kat sini dia akan buat decision tree and table tadi. Table and then akan ada corrective measure if sebab turbidity you boleh nampak dengan mata kasar tak? Turbidity boleh nampak dengan mata kasar tak? Air warna macam contoh di Kelantan air warna macam teh tarik.
Boleh nampak.
Boleh doktor.
Ya, boleh So we should have the corrective measure supaya kalau kata warna tu tak sampai tahap yang sepatutnya, dia ada corrective measure for the critical control point. Okay. Taste and odor removal and also disinfection. This is critical control point because you want to remove bacteria here so that it can produce a safe drinking water. You boleh faham tak yang ni?
Boleh dokter.
Okay, bagus kelas ni. Semua faham. Okay, so yang ni tadilah drinking water and then the CCP punya soalan kat sini yang mana yang dia identify as hazard and drinking water distribution system. Yang ni tadilah hazard pergi pada WC integrity and then chlorine residual tadi. Okay. This is HACCP plan template. You monitor which use this plan template to document your HACCP plan, including relevant critical control point, hazard and critical limits associated with your process. So you have possible hazard, critical limit, monitoring what and how, monitoring frequency, monitoring the plan, corrective action, verification and also record keeping, siapa yang buat semua. Okay. Okay, let's look at this. Kita tengok dekat sini. Okay, boleh nampak?
Yes,
Boleh
doktor.
Okay, bahagian keselamatan dan kualiti makanan from KKM So dia ada kat sini pengenalan HACCP, apa benda, bermula pada 19 April 2001 Skim pensediaan HACCP telah dilancarkan secara rasmi dan objektif skim adalah memberikan pengiktirafan rasmi kepada premis makanan yang berjaya mengamal dan mengekalkan sistem HACCP bagi produk makanan mereka. So ada terkandung dalam Malaysian Standard 1480/2007 and 1514/2009 and 1480/2019 bermula 1 September 2021. Ini baru lagi ni. Proses pensediaan melibatkan audit kecukupan, pematuhan dan pemantauan oleh juru audit yang dilantik oleh bahagian keselamatan kualiti makanan. So that's why you need to have the filing system tadi. So the objective is memastikan makanan yang dihasilkan selamat, memenuhi kehendak negara Kesatuan Eropah EU and US for export and menyediakan satu sistem keselamatan makanan di negara ini. Because HACCP is satu keperluan pengeksportan makanan seluruh dunia. Okay, so if you want to export your food, you should have the HACCP certification. So they have the HACCP faedah here, sijil kesihatan tujuan ekspor. Okay, memendekkan tempoh pengeluaran sijil kepada 3 hari berbanding 19 hari bagi industri yang tidak mendapat pengiktirafan HACCP KKM. HACCP KKM boleh digunakan pada produk yang telah mendapat pengiktirafan. Nombor EU bagi tujuan pengeksportan. Okay, menguatkan sokongan kepada sistem jaminan kualiti ISO dan halal. So we have the ISO, we have halal and we have HACCP. Okay, dapat bersaing dengan negara lain dalam makanan global. So they have the syarat permohonan here. How you can have to apply it. You have the syarat umum and syarat khusus. So this is the ni lah cost for HACCP certification. So you can click here for ni application online. So the HACCP for HACCP is 3 years. Audit pengawasan akan dijalankan by KKM sekurang-kurangnya 1 kali sepanjang tempoh pensediaan premis. Pembaharuan dilakukan seawal 6 bulan sebelum tarikh tamat sijil. So you have here the procedure penambahbaikan, permohonan pensijilan, spesifikasi logo, and then senarai pemegang HACCP sehingga Jun 2021. So this is updated updated lah. So for the conclusion, it is a versatile system which can be used to manage the occurrence of health hazard in food and water, and also be used to manage public health in wastewater treatment. Main component of HACCP contains 7 principles, and HACCP is used worldwide and endorsed by WHO and FAO. Future research has to deal with the quantitative aspect of likelihood of the occurrence of identified hazard. Okay, that's all for today's lecture. Let's discuss about apa nama ni? Assignment. Okay, assignment. Anybody yang ada problem dengan assignment? Tak ada masalah, semua faham? Anybody have problem with group assignment yang saya dah bagi?
Doctor, may I know the format for the assignment?
Okay, for which assignment? Both.
Both, yeah.
Okay, for basically for HACCP assignment, it is like you can write it according to the apa nama ni UTM format thesis. Boleh?
Okay, doctor.
And for individual assignment, saya tak kisah. Asal boleh baca font 12, Arial ke, asal boleh baca
Thank you, doctor.
Okay. So have ada siapa-siapa yang ada masalah dengan grouping ke? Semua orang dah ada group Ada yang masih belum ada group? Tak ada. Semua orang ada group
Doctor, may
Yeah?
I ask when is the deadline of both assignment?
Deadline. Okay. For HACCP assignment, kita you boleh hantar nanti by end of the lecture, which is around minggu ke 13 or 14. Nanti saya bagi date lah, the exact date. Lambat lagi lah yang HACCP. But for individual assignment is for after the semester break. Sebab yang tu senang je soalan dia. Senang tak? Susah.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Nanti saya akan bagi the exact date lah. After semester break, nanti you boleh hantar untuk for the individual assignment. Okay, what else? Ya?
UTM ada organize tu.
Tak dengar, Aiman?
Baru tu dengar tak?
Bergema sikit.
UTM dia ada organize tak untuk sijil professional halal HACCP?
UTM ada organisasi sijil HACCP.
Halal HACCP. Professional halal HACCP.
Halal.
Ya.
I'm not sure about it, but then kita ada halal punya macam coordinator juga, which is Dr. Razauddin. Dr. Razauddin. Pernah dengar? Pernah jumpa dia? Basically dia involved on in halal punya ni lah, certification kalau tak silap saya. Dia ada pergi kat luar juga, ada bagi talk juga for halal certification.
Betul, terima kasih.
Okay, anybody else? Any other question? Okay, kalau tak ada. Laila?
No, doktor, itu tekan tadi.
Okay. So So basically nanti saya akan bagi satu handout regarding HACCP punya apa nama ni macam monitoring punya sistem monitoring system of HACCP. Nanti you all baca and then akan buat reflection on in the Padlet. Kita akan bagi Padlet. This time we will work in group HACCP yang saya bagi tu. You guys boleh join, dah boleh buat group WhatsApp for the HACCP assignment, and the reflection also based on the paper adalah according to the group. Boleh? Faham?
Boleh, Doktor. Doctor, I want to ask a question. Do you have any rubric for both assignments?
Okay, rubric for apa nama ni HACCP saya dah ada, but rubric for individual belum lagi. Saya sedang buat. Nanti saya akan share juga rubric.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. What else? Anybody else? Ada soalan lain?
Okay, Doktor, satu lagi. Kan sebelum ni kelas hari Rabu yang kita flash tu.
Aiman, suara tak dengar sangat lah, bergema.
Okay, sorry Doktor. Clear tak?
Boleh. Slow sikit cakap.
Kan hari Rabu waktu tu kelas kita clash kan. Jadi attendance untuk 2 minggu sebelum ni macam mana?
Hari Rabu yang first saya tak ambil, tak ada kelas hari Rabu untuk first week tak ada kelas. Baru minggu ni baru ada. Tapi saya tak ambil lah untuk yang second week ni saya tak ambil. Saya abaikan lah untuk attendance yang second week ni. So kita start balik. Yang kelas tu memang ada, but then untuk for yang Rabu ni, which is Selasa kan nanti?
Yes, Doktor.
Selasa nanti kita akan kira start fresh balik lah Selasa. Okay? Okay, kalau ada apa-apa soalan lain?
For now, tak